But anyway, let's get to it. So, welcome back after a little bit of a break. It's been a few weeks since our last stream. Uh, for those of you who have not been one of these before, my name is Cheese Doodle. I am a member of the TagPro Future Group and Steering Committee, and this is a stream series called Future Group Friday. So the goal of this stream is to go through development updates on the game TagPro, basically talking about what we've been working on behind the scenes from a development standpoint, from a planning standpoint, talking about timelines. And after we go through that, we're going to switch over to some feedback stuff. We get requests from the community for features that we want to add in the future or bug reports that have come up. So we'll field all of those. And then we will finish up as usual with a feature building session where we talk through something that we're planning to do in the future at some point, not necessarily in the immediate future, but things that are good to have a plan for when we are ready to start actually implementing those things. So if you don't know what TagPro is, if you haven't been here at all, you can see the homepage in front of me right now. You can find it at tagpro.gg. It is a free-to-play online capture the flag game with short games, about 6 minutes live right in your browser. It's a 4 versus 4 game. You do not need an account to sign up. You can check it out at tagpro.gg. And if I didn't say my name, it's Cheese Doodle. That's good enough. So we're going to start off as we usually do with our development updates. I did not stream last week as mentioned, so we're going to go back 2 weeks and talk through what's been worked on in the meantime. Most of what we're on is still getting ready for the next release. We are inching ever so slowly closer to that. So most of what you're going to hear is stuff that has been brought up in the past, but it's been moved forward since the last time you heard about it. So we're going to jump back to, I believe, the 18th, is it? No, 17th of April is 2 weeks from now. And we're going to talk about what's been going on. So the first thing there was a update to the feedback threads. So I've been talking about this plenty at this point, but the feedback tab of the homepage over on the right here is with Canny. Canny is a product that has priced us out of their free plan, so we're no longer able to use the back-end portion of their site, so we can't really do anything with it. It still accepts posts, but we can't like mark them as in progress or do anything like merge them into each other and all that. So we're moving away from the Canny board, moving it over to Discord. So if you're in our Discord, which you can find linked at the bottom of the homepage, Discord's down there, you'll find a feedback thread, and that's where we're moving everything over to for the foreseeable future. So the first thing that we worked on 2 weeks ago was finishing up the bot that we're using to accept submissions so that we can still have a page here on the homepage and take those submissions and send them over to Discord to be stored long term. That's been a larger project than I was hoping it would. It really ended up being a little more nuanced because just little things that Discord doesn't do that Canny did that we're trying to find ways around and trying to figure out how we can make the user experience as close to this as possible, despite the fact that it's not using Canny. So not too much to share on that one yet. I think when you guys see it live, you'll have a little more of an idea of what I'm talking about. That's something we're going to want some feedback on when it does go live, feedback on the feedback tab, because it's not quite what it was before. We don't love it. We don't hate it, but we don't love it. It could be better, but it could be worse. So we're going to see how it lasts for a couple of months, and if we decide to try something else, we can. But that is not quite done, but still moving in the right direction. We did figure out a way to bring something we call From Now, which is a package that we have built that allows us to display time stamps as a reference from the current time. So you'll see that on the leaders tab right now. For all of the casual board resets, you see a board will reset in a certain number of hours and minutes. This is a static page, so we get it once from the server that tells you when this is going to be updated. But for the feedback tab, I had something that I wanted to use a live countdown for. So we had a package that we've used for the back-end data for a long time, but we've brought that over to the front end as well. So we'll be able to do more on other tabs in the future with countdowns and things that are actually referencing the current time. So it's not going to look like a whole lot for the actual implementation, but it does give us another tool to be using in the future, which is nice to have. After that, we had a update to the flavor text on the flares that are on the way. We had a lot of back and forth figuring out what to actually say next to each flare. So you'll see like all these texts like awarded for testing the world joiner, you slay the dragon, stuff like that. But we have a lot of flares on the way. All of those needed to have text. So we had some preliminary stuff out there that we had put in for the initial shop comment, but we have redone almost all of them with new, updated, and in my opinion, better quality text under all of those flares. So that should be done. We have a couple more small tweaks that are going to go in, but the bulk of those are done and ready to go. So the shop itself is done and ready to go and has been merged down to the base branch. So the TagPro shop is ready to go. It's not the thing that's going to hold up this release. We're just focusing on smaller things to get them in around the shop so we have a more bulky release, if you will. We just want to have a couple other things that we've been working on at the same time. But the shop itself is done, which is super exciting because that was the next big milestone that we're aiming for. So we know that we are not going to be held up by that in the same way that ranked kind of turned into a progressively longer deadline thing over the course of a few months. That is not going to be what happens with the shop, which is really nice to have behind us. We did also have some changes to the way that we're storing flares in the backend side of things. Just makes it easier to add new ones in the future because we are planning to continue to add flares to the shop. The nice thing about the shop is that we don't really need an excuse to add flares into it. It's just if you have a cool flare that you've made, get it in. As long as you can think of a text, we can put a price on it. There's no reason not to just continuously add flares. So we made the process of adding them a lot more streamlined so that we can do that down the road. I forget if I've mentioned this in the past. The initial shop is going to have something around, what's the number? I think around 60-ish flares added initially. And then we've got another 10 that are just about ready that we're going to wait and add in over the next couple of months after the initial shop release, just so it's kind of obvious to players that it's a continuously growing thing. We don't want to have like 70 of them all at once and then nothing gets added for a year and then it looks like the shop's just kind of a static thing. We want it to seem like the shop is getting stuff progressively so people are more motivated to have ideas and submit them and add stuff in for us as well. That's the rough plan there. But I'm pretty happy with how the shop is looking right now, which is a good sign. After that, we had some changes to just logging for the developers on Discord. We had we had been updating the bot to take the feedback threads that I talked about already, but it's the same bot that we use for error logging. So if something crashes or if like a server goes down, we have notifications that come to us on Discord. The way they're presented is kind of hard to read. So while we were messing with that code, we just also put in some easier logging on the bot so that it's nice for us to figure out what's going wrong, fix it a little bit faster, hopefully, going forward. That was done, merged down. We had a couple of fixes to the AFK indicators. I think I mentioned this one in the past. If you look at a replay or any game that is live, you will see at the bottom of the scoreboard, you have those little, like the ball. Each person has a ball next to their score. I've talked before that if you are AFK, it's going to put the ZZZ on this ball as well. So if you're on this side of the map and somebody's AFK over here, you can still see that that person is AFK without crossing over to their side of the map. We're doing the same thing for pending indicators. So if you haven't pressed any keys since the start of the game, you have that little hourglass. That's also going to show up on the little ball down there. And this is the part that was edited, if you are respawning, we change the alpha of that ball so it looks like it's a little bit faded, so you can see if players are alive, dead, or respawning because they refreshed or something like that. We had also been looking at the way that all of those elements are triggered. So the way that it works now on production today is that everything that you see here, these balls are run on a rendering loop, and it's the same rendering loop as the physics engine. So it's all every tick that goes through. It's looking how many players are there anybody that is still in the game, not in the game, and it adds or removes these indicators accordingly. That's very, very inefficient because most of the time you have 4 players on a team and nothing else. You aren't adding and removing players constantly. So there's no real need to check every single tick that every single player is still the same player that they were before. You only need to check if somebody has left the game or somebody has joined the game and then do all of that work afterwards. So we were able to reduce the workload of that rendering tick even though we're adding features to it. So it's hopefully a lot lighter on the renderer, and that is kind of a precursor to some changes we're hopefully going to make in the future with the rendering engine that we use in general. Not an engine, it's Pixie.js and Box2D, but what we're realizing is that a lot of this code is very old. I think people knew that. And the way that it runs just wasn't really optimized for performance. And that's sometimes showing up in little rendering issues. There was that bug that we talked about last release with like the flag appearing when it wasn't actually there because somebody else was holding it. Stuff to that same effect. We're just finding there are more opportunities than we realized to start to improve that code and hopefully reduce the number of visual bugs that people see when they play the game. So the one that we're actually putting in for this release is very minor. It's just fixing these little indicators down here, but it is hopefully setting the stage for some larger changes in the future to improve performance. So that was done, merged down, ready to go. all those are, yeah. So it was a little back and forth, just making sure we were on the same page about which handlers to use. Like when a player dies, do you refresh it? When a player grabs the flag, all of that stuff. So we're not going to do flag grabs. It's just the AFK and all that, but there's no need to be checking every tick. If somebody has become AFK, you just need to know when someone goes AFK, use that trigger to update the little indicators down at the bottom of your screen. Then we had a refactor of, oh yeah, we were going through, this is another optimization thing. We were looking at the way that the game talks to the joiner. So the joiner is the code responsible for taking players who are waiting for a game, placing them into games, and then the game itself is an independent process. And that's really important because if something goes wrong, say on the leaderboard page, or something goes wrong in a group and the entire TagPro site crashes, it's running on a different process than the game. And that's really good because if your site goes down, that means the game can still continue running and finish, or vice versa. If the game crashes for some reason, it doesn't take down the entire site. But that does make it a little challenging for those two things to talk to one another. And what we realized was that we are updating certain fields from the game to the joiner to let the joiner know that you do or don't need players a little inefficiently, and also with extra data that is not needed. So we were able to trim that down a little bit. Refactor went in that I think reduced like 400 lines of code that just were not being used at all because it was like vestigial stuff that used to be relevant for the joiner, but the way that we do it now is a lot better and a lot more optimized, and we don't need those fields at all. So that fix went in, not really fixed necessarily, but just, again, fixing the spaghetti code of the last 13 years of TagPro and making things a little easier to work with going forward. Another one of that. We have a fix on the way to the the Rainbow Road splats, which has been a high source of complaints in the last year or so. If you are familiar with this bug, you join into a game and every single tile on your screen will appear to have a splat, which is what happens when a ball pops. It makes a little red or blue splat on the tile that you popped on. I think it's a 1 in 10,000 chance that it happens to you, where that pop appears in every single tile and persists for the entire game. And we got complaints that the game's basically unplayable at that point because you can't see anything because your whole map is just covered by splats. And I personally think it's hilarious. I understand why people don't like this. And so we had a little compromise where we fixed the splats issue for starters, and we made it so that if you have this feature, I'm calling it, it still shows up at the start, but then it fades out before the game actually starts. So we keep the Easter egg where it's still, I think it's funny when people have this happen to them, but I do understand that we don't want it interfering with their actual game. And I think I can show you guys briefly what it looks like. There you go. So this was submitted by Fender, where his entire screen is covered in splats, and it's just really obnoxious because you can't see what's going on. So it's going to still look like that at the start of the game, but then they'll fade out and you'll have a normal map after that. My personal favorite is the Halloween event where we have different custom splats that show up. It's just chaos, but that should be fixed in the next release. And we also noticed that at the same time, something broke about 1.5 years ago, where if you had a player pop on a spike, there's no spikes on this map, just pretend there's a spike there, that splat is supposed to stay there and then fade away pretty quickly. But if you pop in the open field, those splats stay for a little bit longer. That's not what's been happening. So we were able to fix that old logic so that splats look like they used to back over 1.5 years ago, and hopefully just a nicer look to this site. Just a minor visual thing, but that is ready to go for the next release. Ranked redirect indicators I've mentioned before. That's the little indicator on the bottom of your ball that's going to tell your teammates in casual if you are scheduled to go to a ranked game. So if you're playing ranked and you get that pop that says ranked game ready, sometimes players just type in chat ranked so that you know you didn't just disconnect, you know you're getting pulled out for a ranked game. You won't need to do that anymore because on your ball it will indicate that you are going to be pulled away for a ranked game. That is still only going to show up to your teammates. It is not going to show up to the other team because we don't want that to be information that is exploited. For example, if I'm sitting on regrab and I have that indicator, my teammates know I might be disconnecting soon, so I should hedge closer to rehab, or if regrab. You can go to rehab too if you want. And then I think the other one was like holding a flag, so you know someone didn't just disconnect because they wanted to like mess with their team, like they got pulled out accidentally. And we're trying to reduce those instances as well, but just it passes the information onto your teams for you, so you don't need to say to your team that you got disconnected by the joiner. It'll be obvious from the start. So we had a couple of back and forth about how to do that. We had originally done it with a field on the player object. I'm not going to really get into this. We just fixed it to be its own emit, so it's just less data being passed back and forth, and that should be ready to go as well. Then we have the final fix to the ranked redirect refresh penalty, which is if you're in a casual game, you get pulled out of the game into ranked, the ranked game voids and you get sent back into the casual game, you would get a 10-second respawn penalty. We fixed that so that you're not going to get that respawn penalty. But while we were fixing that, we also found some issues with refreshing when you get a redirect. And this is a bug that's live right now, so don't do this because it will mess with you. If you get a ranked game ready notification while you're in a game and then you refresh the page, it's going to put you back into the game that you were just in, but it's also going to try to reconnect you with the joiner. And that was problematic because the joiner will say, oh, you're supposed to be in a launcher, and then it will send you another notification that says you're supposed to be in a ranked game. But when it does that, it sets it with the exact same timer that you got the first time. So say you're supposed to be redirected in 65 seconds. If you refresh 20 seconds later, you get another 65-second timer. So you don't get redirected out of your casual game until 20 seconds after your ranked game has voided. And so we were seeing some voids and we weren't really sure what the source of these was. And that is, we figured out by accident, the source is if you refreshed at any point after you got that notification, you are not pulled out of the game at the right time. So we fixed that completely where you can refresh now and it will keep the original timer and pull you in when you're supposed to get pulled in. So the number of voids should start to be cut down, specifically voids that were happening while a player was stuck in a casual game. There was also an edge case of that with overtime that we were able to fix. I'm not going to get into that because it's a little more complicated, but the bottom line is, hopefully, assuming this is working correctly, and it is in testing, voids should start to be less frequent for players who are queued casual and ranked at the same time. And if you refresh your page, you can expect it to work the way that you would expect it to work, not resulting in a void. So those are good to go. Past review, ready to get merged down. Then we had a little bit of back and forth on that one, just deciding how to which fields to save and all that. Not too super important. We have an improvement on the way to the void messaging. So if you're in a ranked game, and this is kind of on the tail end of what I just mentioned, if you're in a ranked map voting page and you get a void, like one of your teammates never joins from their game, or maybe they closed the tab and didn't realize they got a game and they voided it, it sends you right back into the joiner, which is good, but it does that it does it in a weird way. So what it does is it fades the whole page out and it has one little line of text at the very, very top. It's much, it's like this size text up here. You guys can't see that. It's like this size text where it's just a little letters above my name or above my head there. And it says your game is voided, sending you back to the joiner. And it's only there for like 2 seconds and then it's gone. So a lot of players were in a map voting page, looked away for a second because they voted, looked back, and they were back in the joiner and not in a game. And they're like, wait, what happened? I was supposed to get into a ranked game. So it was just confusing. It wasn't obvious why they were back into the joiner. So all we did for that was, instead of fading out and showing a little message, we send you straight back to the joiner so you don't have an extra 2-second delay. And we have a little notification while you're in the joiner that says, hey, just so you know, your last game voided. That's why you're back in the joiner. So just better information being passed on and a slightly faster requeuing time for players who are supposed to get into a game, which should be good going forward. That was good, Robiny, by the way. Sorry, I missed that joke. They tried to make me go to regrab, but I said, no. That's well done. About that thing we were talking about last time, I joined a game in progress with even scores where I immediately went behind, eventually won that game, and it was counted towards my stats. Is that not what you expected to happen? Because I think that's what we want to happen. You won a game. I'm going to let you answer that later. But yeah, I don't think that's an unexpected result, Lydia, unless I'm missing something there. Void message is good to go. More stuff on the feedback thread I talked about. We found a bug. This is still live, so I'm not going to go into much detail, but there is an issue right now with void penalties for players who void from a ranked launcher. I'm not going to talk about what the issue is because we are monitoring this, so don't try to exploit it, but we'll find you. But there is an issue right now with voids that happen while you're still in the launcher. Which is funny because that's like 4 different things that we've done surrounding launcher voids, but they all came from different feature requests. So they're all unrelated things that happen to all align around voids in the launcher. But the bottom line is those should be less frequent. They should work when they're supposed to work, and they should be much more informative when they do happen after this release with all of those different things. After that, we have we finalized the MTC flare, which I'm super excited for. I've mentioned this one in the past already, but just to reiterate, you have a volunteers tab. We have the future group, developers, mods, and monitors. Those are the official bodies of TagPro. We also have the map test committee, which is also an official body, but does not receive any recognition on the site, which is bad. So we have the old MTC flare, which you can see up here. It's this green Erlenmeyer flask, but that's just for like legacy MTC. Anybody who's been on the map test committee at some point in the past has that flare. It doesn't really say current membership, so it's kind of a useless flare from an information standpoint. So we've updated that to keep the green one. Anyone who has it can still have it, and anybody who becomes a map test committee member can also gain it, but we add a new one that's a red version of the same flare, and that is active MTC only. And then when you have that active MTC flare, your name and your account will also appear on this volunteers tab with a list of the current map test committee. So there's a group of them on Discord. That's where they operate for the most part, but it would be good for them to be recognized on the site and also have a flare as a thanks for the work that they put in, because the map test committee is arguably one of the most important groups of people in TagPro right now for keeping the game fresh. So they should get a little bit of recognition for that, and that will be ready for the next release. We have a fix on the way. This is an old thing that was reported back in 2015, I think this was first reported. This is a backend thing that doesn't really cause bugs, but it has the potential to cause bugs in future changes. And it's just related to database updates. We were using, oh wait, did I explain this before? I'll go quick. We were using an old way of updating the database that takes a database document, updates it, and then puts it back, which is bad because if when you're grabbing a thing and updating it, something else grabs that same document and updates it, when you go back, you're going to overwrite whatever that other change was to the database, which is bad because now that update never happened, even though it thinks it happened because the function ran. So we got rid of that whole thing and have it just update the fields that are supposed to be updated. So if that update comes in while I'm working over here, my update will just smoothly work into that same update, so they both come into the final document together. That was a thing that was used throughout the entire code base, so we had to update about, we've been slowly reducing them over the last couple of years, but I think we're down to like 25 instances of it, so we replaced all of those. I am going to sneeze, so excuse me for the mute. Sorry, seasonal allergies have kicked in as well. Yeah, so that's done, ready to go. Hasn't finished passing review yet, but it is ready for review, which is good. Liddy says it was, hey Josh, welcome. It was as you thought it was going to be. Okay, good. That's good. Thank you for confirming that. Oh, okay. I remember this conversation now. I had asked you to find an instance of a bug that we were reporting, and you're telling me that that bug wasn't actually happening because it worked the way that it was expected to, which is good news. Thank you. Okay, got it. Welcome to the stream, Josh. Glad to have you. After that, we've got reviews came in for a couple of things I just talked about. They got merged down. We have a internal only branch that's ready to go that's just making it faster for us to grab clean copies of the database. So it's useful for developers to have copies of the actual database, but there's sensitive information there, so we don't want to just be willy-nilly passing that around. But we have a cleaning script that takes all the sensitive info out, but keeps the other stuff that's hard to kind of recreate locally, like the account IDs, the number of degrees that players have, things like that, names, stats, all those things that are not private information, but they're just hard to kind of fake. So it's faster for us now to grab a copy of that and use it locally when we're testing things to reduce the number of bugs that actually happen in production. Let's theory craft. Let's do it. So a few of the things I just talked about were getting merged down. More of that. More of that. An old branch that we didn't actually need got closed. Super secret thing on the way. I actually can't talk about this one, but there will be a surprise in the next release that I am not going to say anything else about. And we've got a quick one to open profile links in a new tab from the map voting page. I think that was a community request where if you're voting on maps and you click on a player's name, right now it'll redirect you to that player's account, which is annoying because maybe you want it to be in the launcher typing or looking at who's voted and whatnot, or voting yourself. Now it will open that name in a new tab, so you can just go between both tabs and do whatever you want. Big one here. This one was reported very recently. It's been happening for a few months now. We didn't realize this. There was a bug for public and private groups where if you were queued for any game, doesn't matter what, and you were waiting in the joiner for more than 60 seconds, it was kicking you out of your group before you got into a game. And so an example of that would be if I am in a public group and I'm playing public games and I queue for casual, if it takes me more than 60 seconds to find a game, by the time I do get sent into a game, I arrive there not in a group. And that's relevant for things like stats. Players like to play in groups so they don't have stats recorded. And it was also happening, I think, with private games. If you launched to a server that was full and you waited a minute, like say Chicago 1 had 3 games running, so there's no more slots on it, but you launched to Chicago 1 and it didn't send you in until a couple minutes later. By the time you got there, your group no longer existed, and that was causing a lot of problems. We were able to track down the source of that problem, and it has to do with the way that we had adjusted the casual queuing system. So if you look in the top left corner of your screen while you're queued for casual, you'll see that little arrow with the green triangle in it. Or if you click on that, it turns into the red X to say, this is my last game, take me out of the joiner after this game. When we did that, we added the ability for you to toggle whether you are in or out of the joiner, which is a good change. We like that change, but in the process, we were accidentally skipping the initialization of the group socket that says, hey, I am still in a group. And what that means is that most pages on the site, when you're on them, still talk to the group that you are in. There's a socket connection that says, hey, I'm still on the site, I still am in this group. So if you get redirected back to a group from anywhere, it sends you to the correct location. But with the change that we made, we were failing to initialize that socket correctly. So even though you were in the joiner and you were previously in the group, that joiner page was not informing the group that you were still on the site. So you looked like you were still on the site. You thought you were still in a group because it said that you were when you loaded the page, but the group thought that you had just disappeared. And so after 60 seconds, it would time out and it would kick you from the group automatically, which is what it's supposed to do. So now we just fixed that by initializing the group later so that it's not after the first thing gets set up. And that way you're still talking to the group while you're waiting for a game, and you can be in the joiner as long as you need to be without getting kicked from the group now. So tricky thing to track down. We found it. I'm really glad we found it because that's actually a pretty big issue for us to have had exposed for so long, but that will be patched in the next release, which is good. Smaller thing after that, we've got a fix to AFK players in minigames. There was a request to kick players at the end of their minigames, not mid-game, if they are AFK. And that's really relevant for lower population regions. If there's someone who's just boosting around and then takes a break, it's nicer for them to stay in that game. So if somebody else joins, they know there's somebody else online versus ending up back on the home page with an AFK report, which isn't really productive for anybody. So if you're AFK in a minigame, it will keep you in that minigame until the time expires or it goes to overtime, and then it would kick you back to the home page. If you're moving or you're active, then it will just keep putting you into new games as expected. More back and forth on the feedback thread. Again, this thing just keeps becoming more problematic. A lot of reviews on that. Then we had a review come in for the for the unused fields that I talked about from the game talking to the joiner, the cleanup that got reviewed and merged down, so that's good to go. A nice thing, a very small thing, but a quality of life thing. This is going to be useful, especially for the competitive season coming up. We have a improvement to the joiner notification that shows up when a server is full. So right now, if you, like I mentioned before, are launching a private game onto Chicago 1, or doesn't matter what it is, to a Chicago server, and there are already 3 games running on that Chicago server. So you can see each Chicago server has, I guess this one only has 2. That's strange. I'm going to look into that later. Why do 2 and 4 only have 2 slots? Well, they're supposed to have 3 slots. But anyway, you can see like New York right now has no server slots. So if you went to a private group right now and tried to launch a game onto New York, it would send you into the joiner, and then it would just sit there indefinitely. You would not end up in a game until a different game ended and a slot became available. Now that's fine. Oh, a slot's available now. So that's fine that it works like that, but it doesn't actually tell you that you're waiting for a server slot to become available. So you're just kind of sitting there with no information. So all it's going to do is tell you, hey, you can keep waiting if you want. There will be a slot eventually when a different game ends, but the reason that you're stuck in the joiner right now is because the server is full. And it's a lot more concise than that, obviously, but it gets the point across. And that's just helpful for the leagues, because if you launch to Chicago 2 and you're just sitting there. You don't know if the group broke, because that used to be a thing that would happen in the past. You don't know if somebody left the group, or if the joiner doesn't have the group leader or something like that. Why did Sydney just appear? What is going on here? I guess Sydney went down and is back. Maybe it's scheduled maintenance. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on there. But good for the leagues, so they know if they're waiting, they'll know why they're waiting, and they don't have to go back to group and then guess again. They can either wait if they want to, or they can pick a different server and know that they're picking one that's not full when they do that. Josh says, TagPro roguelike, try to make your way through a bunch of different levels as the map tries to kill you. Each level you get an improvement to your attributes. I mean, that sounds fun. It sounds like a lot of work, but it sounds fun. Maybe an event sometime could do that. But yeah, so the logging went in pretty recently. That's going to be good for the next release. Then the previous MTC thing that I talked about is done, is merged down, ready to go. What else? I think that's most of it. Oh yeah, then the super secret thing that I can't talk about is also ready to get merged soon. So that brings us to now. Pretty productive 2 weeks. Again, we're in release mode, so everything that we're doing is gonna, like, progress feels like it slows down as you get closer, because you're just refining the things that need to actually get done until you actually get to the finish line. I would say, based on what I know and on my experience in guessing wrong in all the previous releases, I'm gonna say we're about 3 to 4 weeks out from the actual release. I'm hoping for testing in 2 weeks, and I'm saying that because if I was my previously naive self, I would say that we'd be ready in about a week or two. And so I'm taking that and I am doubling it, and I'm thinking that's more likely to be the actual answer, because that's what's been the case for all the previous guesses that I've made. So again, in my heart, I feel 1 to 2 weeks. In reality, based on experience, I feel like 3 to 4 weeks is more realistic for what we have left to finish. But we're in the final stages here. There are about 6 or 7 more branches that need to get merged down, and then we are good to go with the release notes and all of that. So look for testing soon. If you're not in the future group testing channels, check the Discord for that. If you go to the role assignment channel on the Discord's linked down there. If you go to the role assignment channel and opt into future group testing, you will receive a ping on Discord, and you can be the first one to see things like the shop and all the new stuff that we are adding in the next release. So give that a go. It's very helpful for us to have testers, and that is all I have for you from a development standpoint. Ice Crown Effect is sort of done. That's a good question, actually. That was a non-development thing that I did spend some time on. Let's talk about that. I'm not going to tell you what the effect is, because that's a different super secret thing, but there were 2 different effects that we were going for. Actually, there were 3 technically. The first one we ruled out. The second one that I liked a lot was ready to go, but it needed to be refined. It wasn't quite as clean as it could be. We finished that, we got it really clean, it looks great. But then while we got it really clean, a third proposal came up that looks even cleaner, but it's harder to make. So I haven't actually tried making it yet. I think I'm gonna try it this week and see if it looks okay. If it does, we might go with it. If not, we already have a clean one that I like a lot that we can use. I'm not spoiling anything. I'm not saying anything else on that, but it's going to be ready for the release. So that will be present. Sorry, I just got a weird text. Other non-development things that I've been working on have been ticketing, which is our internal ticketing system. We've got, I think we're up to 256 internally tracked feature requests and bug reports, which is an overwhelming number. The upcoming release has about 25 things in it, I think was the final number. Let me confirm that actually before I say that. Yeah, 25 tickets in the next release exactly, which is a lot for a pretty mundane release. I mean, the shop's a big one, obviously, but nope, not leaking any flares. Sorry, I've decided not to. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so we have 250 something tickets of things that we all like. They all are things that we want to do at some point. If I could do all of them right now, I would. It would be a chaotic day, but it would be nice to have them all in. But it's like obviously months of work to get all these things done. So from a development standpoint, it's hard sometimes to pick the stuff that you want to work on next. We did the Miro board in the past where I kind of prioritized things according to how time sensitive they were, if they were like visual things or if they were informational things, feature things, all that stuff. Internally from developers to find what they want to work on next, it's kind of hard for us to sift through all of that and figure out what to actually work on. We have like high and low effort. We have like enhancements, bug reports and all that, but we don't have like an actual priority system. So 2 things I did this last week and a half were go through and update all of the feedback links, because everything we had was linking to Candy Board stuff, which isn't going to exist soon. So I replaced all of those with Discord links so we can actually update those tickets on Discord when we do actually complete something. And then after that, I started adding in the priority system that I've made it, which is just a low, medium, high, and then time sensitive for the things that need to be done as soon as possible. And that's just going to give us a little bit more of a streamlined ability to do things, so it's less time talking about what to do and more time just picking a thing and going with it. Right now, from the high priority, I've only ticketed about, or marked about 80 of the 250 tickets, but right now I have 17 high priority, 27 medium priority, and 37 low priority. So a few things. And what I'm looking at for the priority is really just how impactful is that feature to the progression of the game, basically. A high priority example would be like an issue with a bug in a game that would mess up stats or something like that. That needs to be fixed pretty quickly or it's going to cause problems long term. Things like new player experience, is this really confusing for new players and might turn people away from the site, but it's a pretty easy fix. That would be a higher priority. But things like experimental group features or changes to like visual, what's the word I'm looking for? Like rendering tweaks that aren't going to actually like change anybody's experience, but might be good for like setting up future features. Those are lower priority right now. Those priorities can change in the future, but I think the example I keep coming back to is like meta progressing changes. If we're going to be trying those out, there is a time and a place for that, and those things would jump from low straight to high when we get there. But for now, not the focus, so those stay at low priority. I think if I gave you a couple examples of high priority, that might help me make my point here. Again, I've not gone through all of the tickets yet, but high priority things would be like fixing the database map stuff. Currently, if maps are taken out of a rotation, they're marked incorrectly in the database, and that was causing problems for the MTC. Somewhat time sensitive, but doesn't need to be fixed like today. There's a bug on the spectate page where if you click onto the filter, and then you click anywhere else, the filter stays there. That's a confusing visual thing. That's not expected behavior. So that's a high priority. Even though it's low effort, it's higher priority because that's unexpected behavior to click somewhere and have that not go away. So that was one that went in high priority. Fixing the zoom levels on mobile is a big one, where if you look on your phone, the map is like way zoomed out. You can't see a damn thing. That's a high priority fix because anyone who watches a replay or tries to watch a game from their phone can't see anything. That's bad for exposure and for sharing the game and all of that. So those are things that are more impactful if they were done soon on the overall like long-term health and well-being of the game. So we'll hopefully, again, if we are doing 25 tickets a release, we're at a pretty good cadence that we'll be able to start cutting down into those things pretty quickly, but it takes time obviously to do that. So that was my non-development stuff I was working on the last couple weeks, and that I think is all I want to talk about for future group stuff. So 40 minutes of talking though, that's pretty good for development stuff over 2 weeks. And I think from there we will switch over to the feedback tab. Again, we're still going to use the Candy Board for the first few things. There are some more things on Discord that we'll switch over afterwards. Is the player base growing? That's a hard question to answer. We have not had 100 online on one of my streams in a bit, so I'm going to go with yes. But actual answer is that weather's getting nicer outside. It is slowing down a little bit because people are spending more time doing things that are not sitting at home. But that is an expected ebb versus a flow with player-based counts. So it's hard to say, are we getting better or worse? I think we're holding pretty steady right now, which is good considering usually we slow down a lot during these weeks. But one of the things we want to do in the mid to near future is add better logging to give you a real answer to that. We had a stream, I think it was 4 weeks ago, we talked about potential stats that we could start to monitor that would tell us, are we doing things well or are we doing things poorly based on people online certain hours of the day, certain regions, certain games played, all that. Again, go back and watch that if you want to. I can get you a link if you need me to, but hard to answer, unfortunately. Let me check the account creation rates real quick for you while I'm here. We have had an uptick in portfolio creation rates. I can note that. So more old players who had not played before are coming back and finding ranked than were doing so a couple of months ago. I'm not sure what drove that, but I have had to review a lot more of those in the last week or two. Today, actually pretty high creation counts today. We're at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 17 already today. 25 yesterday. 20 the day before. 22 the day before that. 18 the day before that. Yeah, we're pretty normal numbers, I'd say, for that. So yeah, I wouldn't. Oh, am I offline? Why does it say offline? I better not be. Someone say something so I know I'm still here. Sorry, it says offline on my stream. Online? Okay, I don't know why it's saying that then. Sorry. It's just got a big offline across the top of my preview. All right, anyway, let's switch over to feedback stuff. Again, if you have any questions for me that you don't want your name attached to, or you're watching this recording back later, there is a form pinned in the chat, and that's also going to be visible in the Reddit description and also the YouTube description as well. You can find that form, so feel free to fill that out. I don't see any additional questions from the last couple of streams. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, nothing else new. So feel free to fill that out if you want. But otherwise, let's talk about not the candy board, the canny board that is on its way out, but it's in front of us right now. So new stuff. We only had a couple here because most people are starting to figure out the Discord, which is good. Where is... Oh wait, we actually had a lot here. Oh, because we have 2 weeks worth of stuff. Ah! All right, I'll try to be a little more efficient with my time here. Joining ranked games, we got avoid matches. All right, avoid matches with muted players in ranked games. This is not a thing we can do. Closed. Matchmaking preferences are not viable with the current size of the player base. There's just no way for us to do that. Like, you can't just say, I don't like this kind of person, I don't want to play with them, so I'm not going to. That just, you wouldn't get games enough, so we don't have any way of doing that right now. We'll skip through that. Ranked wait times are long enough. Remove voting phase. Can't do that. I couldn't play with like 3/4 of all people. Yeah, sorry, lady. It's good for map feedback, yes. The other thing they're missing here is that the voting phase is important for the casual dual queue system because we need some time for players to end up in the lobby. So I don't really see a benefit to this. They want it shorter. Yeah, I mean, I see the argument there. I understand why that'd be more fun from like a getting into more games quickly, but I just don't think it's really compatible with the way that the rest of the site works right now. The timing on map voting is important for allowing players to arrive in their ranked lobby. Think from casual games or elsewhere on the site. When player counts are higher, we may have the opportunity to reduce this countdown, but it is unlikely to be entirely removed. And also, the map voting is actually important for the MTC to figure out what they're doing correctly and all that. Hello, Nanner. Welcome back. The sun is out. What are we doing here? We are enjoying a wonderful Future Group Friday, as usual. Thanks for joining in. After that, we've got show ranked player count even when logged out. It currently just says login for details. Well, now I'm confused. When you're logged out, does it not show you? Let me check an incognito real quick. Oh, okay. It says not eligible for ranked games. Click here for details. It doesn't tell you how many players. I mean, I don't think that really matters, because if you want to know, you can also just click the spectate button. You can see the ranked games that are going on right now. I guess you can't see how many players are queued for ranked. I don't really see a need for this one. I understand the justification, but justification is understood. However, for a rough preview, you still have access to the spectate page while logged out, which shows the number of active ranked games and their participants. Yeah, I don't think this is worth the effort to implement. After that, we've got private group only reset ball positions. Whoa. I'd love to see a tool for training competitors in private matches. I would like it to work akin to press R. So it's like the map testing feature where you can reset map elements, but they only want it to reset balls. Huh. I think this would have to be a different game mode. This wouldn't be map testing mode. You'd have like a different group setting that would be like training mode or something like that. Whoa, a lot of groups going on. That's a visual bug. When's the last time we had 4 active groups? Huh. I'll look into that later. For now, just thinking about what this would look like. So we've got map testing mode enabled, and that gives you the R key, and it gives you some different AFK timers, and it lets you reset elements. So it would be like this, but instead of map testing, it would be like training mode. I don't know, I can't have a good name right now, but it would just, I think the easiest thing to do, the reason I'm going this way, is that you would keep the R key as the reset key versus having one like weird mode that's got like one key to reset elements, one to reset balls, and then maybe people are asking for more things in the future. I just feel like it would get a little confusing to have to remember which key resets what things when you're probably not doing both those things at the same time. You're either testing a map or you are block practicing something for competitive. So I think that if we just had those as separate game modes, I don't see a problem with this feature at all, actually. I think the one question is, would you want to have the elements and the player balls reset? But I think that all you would have to do there is use the testing mode that we just talked about, and then just make the respawn times really short, like 5 seconds on a bomb, because then you're resetting it anyway. So I don't really think that that's critical. Am I missing something with that? Big thing in fighting games, save states. Well, save states is interesting. Well, let's explore that a little bit. Instead of resetting the player ball position, do you have everything be attached to a save state? Would that work for the map testing mode as well? Because that could be a shared use case where you say, okay, I have everything the way I want it to be right now, save, and then if I want to go back to that state, I press a different key and that takes me back to then. That would work for map testing because you would save it in a time when all the elements are respawned, and it would work for the block testing because it would keep the player location as well. So that might actually be better than what we do for map testing mode, in a way that it could actually be built off of map testing mode instead of being a separate game mode. Step in and play these classic moments in TagPro history. That is really cool. Here's the boost used to win Super Bowl 25. Can you hit it in the exact player locations that everybody started from? I mean, that'd be a lot more work for other things because you'd have to have like different clients pressing keys and stuff. But that's a cool premise. Okay, I think I'm gonna make a ticket for this. We're gonna say that. I think for now I'm gonna put it as an improvement on map testing mode, but hopefully we can get a hold of Moosin and talk about whether or not that would actually be useful for him. But I don't see why that would interfere with what they do for map testing mode. Unless you want like quick refreshes. Oh no, the thing that would be different was that with the map testing mode, your ball can be in different places and resetting elements as you go. Is there a use case that we're removing in that? You are Koi's on Jinko. I don't think there's a single player who has been playing this game for more than a couple of weeks who could fail that moment these days. But what do I know? I'm still wrestling with this one a little bit because I'm afraid that we're going to accidentally step on a certain map testing feature. So let's just write this as its own feature for now. Save states game mode. I don't really know how to word that. Group setting for enable save states. How's that? And then if we need to modify this to either work it into map testing mode or to keep it as separate, we can figure that out later. But in either case, the candy post is here. Relevant candy post. Similar but different from map test mode. Allow, would it be group leader only or any player in the lobby? I would think, like for the use case of this, it would be like the captain is teaching a player to do it, but it wouldn't be bad for the player to be able to do it. Because they just wouldn't use it if they don't know what they're doing. So I'm going to say allow any group member currently in an active game to set a save state. A save state records the current, I guess state, yeah. It saves the current state. Okay, let's not be redundant here. A saved state holds information such as respawn timing, momentum, upcoming power-ups, etc. Current position, momentum of all elements. Yeah, so respawn timing, momentum, position, upcoming power-ups, etc. After a state has been saved, players can press a different key to return to the previous save state. This moves all elements, including player balls, to their state at, and I think I can't say this without saying save state in the description, to their previously saved state. Yeah. What other considerations do we need here? I think we do not use the AFK timer from map test mode. What other features does map test mode have? I'm trying to remember if it does anything else. Any key preferences for this? I feel like I want to use R as the reset button. So maybe it'd be like E and R, or maybe S and R. But S is a movement key, so we wouldn't want to do that. For now, let's just say E and R. For example, E saves the current state of the lobby. R resets the lobby to that previous save state. Pressing E again sets a new save state and completely overwrites the previous one. There we go. I like Y'all's idea. Fun test with a strict time limit. Oh yeah, I think that would be a really cool thing from a in terms, Cool factor, 100%. Useful factor, less convinced on that one. I think that if we can make it work, I'm all for it. I'm just concerned the amount of work that would be required to do that is a lot higher than just what we're doing here for save states. But yes, that exactly what I was going with that Beach. It would be, sorry, Balloons Orbesters, not Beach. It's, who are you? I know you are. It's Sachet, right? I hope I'm right. But yeah, it would be kind of like a single player mode because the lobby is playing itself the way that it was before. I think that would get complicated because as soon as it deviates from the actual state of the game, there's no precedent for what key to press next, so it kind of fall apart. But it's a cool thing to think about for sure. But for now, I think this covers what we were talking about. It covered who is Sachet. That just makes me think you're Sachet more than I did before. But okay. 3-second lockout between loading and save states. Like it can't be too close together, or what? What benefit does that have? You can't spam like save over and over. I don't really see that being. I guess it depends on. Okay, let's add this. If the process of saving a game state takes a long time, several ticks or even seconds, add a cooldown on save states to limit spam. But if those are happening, like if it's instant, because I think we have all of that data stored in some capacity on the server, so it shouldn't be that hard to just fetch and save all of the relevant fields in one tick. I don't think that's problematic. So if that's the case, there's no reason to add a cooldown. If it is the case that it takes a long time, then yes, what you're saying makes sense, Josh, that we would not want to let people just spam that, because that would slow the whole server down as it tried to keep up with what it was doing. You could also cancel the previous save state if the current one. Yeah, okay, let me add that. Or cancel the previous save state before completion in favor of the new one. Whichever is cleaner. Cleaner. Okay, I think we got that. So yeah, I thought about that, Josh. I'm just wondering, what is the use case for that? Like, if you're in a private group and you're using save states, what context is there that players would be abusing that in the game? And if they are abusing it, okay, maybe this. When the save state is triggered, send a message in chat with the user who activated it. Because I'm thinking like most of the use cases for this would be like a competitive league team is practicing like blocked grabs on a boost or something like that, or on a bomb over and over and over. If you're abusing that, you're kind of just hurting yourself, right? So you need to have oversight on things like group leader only for things that would disrupt the group in context where players could disrupt a group without getting punished for it. And I feel like for something that's only existing for practice right now, there isn't really a situation where people would be taking that out on themselves. Like, why would they do that? Like, what does it actually change? Yeah, it seems like overkill. So I think if we log it in chat, say like, okay, this is the person doing it, then the group leader can kick them if they have to. That's fine. I don't really think that it does much though for. It's just extra work and extra settings that I think are just going to overcomplicate it. For now, I think that would be the thing. If we decide that is a problem, we can add that in the future. But I wouldn't want that to be in the initial implementation, I think. So we're going to go with enhancement here. This is probably a high effort thing. It's not low effort, but I don't know if it's quite high. I think I'm going to leave the effort tag off of it. From a priority standpoint, this is unfortunately a low priority thing, because let's talk about those criteria again. This is useful, totally on board with the idea. I think it's a good idea. Is it going to change player retention right now? Can't sell me on that one. Is it going to improve the likelihood of players sharing the game with their friends? Not sold on that one. I I don't see it really changing how a user who currently comes to the site day to day would change their interaction with the site based on it. So very, very useful in a very specific context. I'm just not sure that context is one that's going to change the trajectory of the game in the short term. So this is the kind of thing that if a developer is like, hey, that seems really cool and I want to spend my personal time on that, totally fine for them to do that. I just can't say that me as SO is going to say this is the next thing we need to be working on as a team. So that's where I'm going to log it for now. If you disagree with that, feel free to make a pitch for it, but I'll probably just throw a bunch of high priority things at you and tell me, or convince you to convince me that they're more important. But for now, we got that out there. Let's say planned. Ticket for save states as a group setting has been saved, has been logged internally, has not yet been assigned to a developer, will be included when time allows. Soft launch the, oh God, Kaiser, stop it, stop. All right, that was a good one. Really good request there, Beef. Thank you for that. Big bug with ratios. What does that mean? There is a serious issue afoot. My ratio is backward. Convert all my wins to losses and vice versa. Okay. Closed. Doing so would hurt my win rate, and we can't have that. Sorry. Almost there. Fix text input field. Why can I not press the left arrow key to move the text cursor? Okay, interesting. AK. I don't know why you can't do this. Now I'm trying to think of it. So they're saying when you type in chat, and this is definitely the case, you can't press left to go back a character. You have to like delete 2 characters and then retype. That is definitely the case. I don't know if there's a reason for that though, or if there's like a limitation. I don't. Why? If I type here, I can go back and forth if I want to. That's fine. Sorry, can you guys not read that? I just realized I was so zoomed out this whole time. Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't do this. So let's make a ticket for it. New issue. Allow arrow keys to adjust cursor position in text boxes. While in games, players who are typing cannot use left, right arrows to adjust their cursor position. Allow this, assuming there are no limitations on, I don't know why there would be, so I'm not going to write that. While in games, players who are typing cannot use left, right arrows to adjust their cursor position. Allow them to do this. Smiley face. Relevant candy request. Requestion. Nice. Requestion. That's good. All right. This is a low effort, and this is a medium priority because this does impact how users interact with the site day to day. I can see a tangible impact because it might reduce the amount of time people spend typing in games, but I wouldn't say it's something that needs to be done like now because it's existed forever and we've survived this long. So would be good. Definitely would change things. Not time sensitive. So that's going to be a medium priority and a low effort. I think that's an enhancement more than a bug, but I don't actually. Close enough. What if I have half a message type, but I want to move ball with arrow keys? Ooh. Before I click create, let's think. Can you do that? Is that possible? Can you be typing and moving at the same time? Hold on. I gotta test this for myself. Wait, I don't have arrow keys as a movement option. Hold on. Ah. Keyboard controls. Let's go secondary. Okay. Group. Can you use your mouse to do that instead? That might be a better fix, yeah. Type, blah, blah, blah. My arrow keys are not doing anything right now. If I click, it does move with you can click already. That's already done. But when the game starts and I have this text box open, can I move my ball? Okay, can I type while I'm moving is the next question. So if I'm typing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I can do both of those things. That is an interesting note. Oh, that takes me back there. Sorry, I haven't played this map before. So if I press enter, I'm still playing, and now I'm typing hi. Well, I don't know if I can do that then, because that's... Yeah, you can do it with the mouse. I'm glad you mentioned that, lady. Yeah, I guess I flipped my stance on this one. You've won me over. You've won me over. Cancel. Close and discard. Closed. Arrow keys are used for movement by default and continue to work. To work while the text box is open and even while typing. Forcing the arrow keys to move the cursor would interfere with this feature. You can use a mouse, mouse to click on your message and edit wherever you please. Good. This is why we do this on stream, because I get caught when I make mistakes. Go team. All right, fixed text input field done. Need ranked OFM and dual queues. So TPM had this for a while. It was somewhat popular. I think that my problem with it is... What is my problem with? Do I have a problem with this? My main problem with this would be, how do we present those queues in the joiner? Because you've got ranked, you've got capture the flag and neutral flag, then you would have OFM, then you would have dual, and you would have all four of those options. That's not inherently a problem, but is that going to take away from... Yeah, so that's kind of where my head was going, MC, is that I have toyed with this idea in the past, and I think I've talked about it on stream, where we have like a third queue that is like a variable queue depending on the season. Like, so one season it could be a mini game queue, one season it could be a racing queue, maybe like a dual queue could be that queue for that season. Egg ball was another idea that came up, so it's not like a permanent always there queue, but season to season we have something to kind of keep things fresh with different things that aren't necessarily mainstays, that have some sort of following, but they're not like things that people want to be doing all the time. Like capture the flag is our most popular game mode because we are a capture the flag website, but we do have all of these other things that you can do that are fun, but they aren't things that people do all the time. Like, I wouldn't want to play egg ball for every week, for every of the year, for indefinite future. Like, I wouldn't want that to be a thing that I personally do. In the future, if the player base grows, absolutely not a problem. But for now, I don't see that we have enough of a player base to sustain a consistent third queue. But if that third queue is changing and keeping things fresh, I do think that there is room for that. So maybe dual and OFM would be like a low stakes thing to add in. My one concern that I've thought of while I'm saying that is that if you add an OFM or a dual queue, there is a mismatch in the size of games that are created. So an OFM and a dual can be created with 2 people. So if you have 2 people queued for that, they're going to get pulled into that OFM or that dual really quickly before 8 players are online to play capture the flag. And that can be problematic because now you might just have 5 duels going with all players who wanted to play capture the flag too, but they're all stuck in duels and they're not getting pulled into that capture the flag game, which would lend towards this being more of a casual thing. But even 2v2, same thing. You have 4 players instead of 8, same problem. So I think that you would need to have these. I don't know. You can play it with both, guys. It's the same. It's the same map either way. I prefer duel as a 2v2 for a blocking practice because you learn how to roll around your blocks with 2v2. But from like a juking people standpoint, 1v1 is better. I like practicing wall jukes and stuff. Sorry, losing my train of thought. So we would have to figure out how to approach that problem. I don't think I have a great solution right now. I want to think about that for another couple of seconds before we move on, though. So, because in the ideal situation, players would not select those queues if there's a full. Well, I guess if you are queued for, let's walk through a hypothetical. I am queued for capture the flag because I want to play ranked capture the flag, but I don't have a problem with playing duel at the same time. If I have selected duel and I get a duel game, I'm not going to be unhappy with the fact that I'm in a duel game because I selected it. If I don't want to be in a duel game, I will not select duel in the queue. If a bunch of players are all getting into duel games and they're all fine with that, should we be trying to force them into a capture the flag game? I kind of lean no as a knee-jerk reaction to that question. So the real question is, does that negatively impact players who are trying to play CTF and NF because everyone else who they could be playing with is in duels? Does that lead to a cascade where more players just sign up for the duel queue, and then does that kill the capture the flag queue entirely? Maybe. Or does that mean that players just don't select those queues during the times of day when there are a bunch of other things going on? Because in practice, if I wanted to play capture the flag and I'm playing capture the flag, I'm not going to have duel selected because I don't want to get pulled in to a duel. I want to play capture the flag 4v4 or neutral flag. So I'm wondering, am I overthinking it is kind of what I'm coming to. Is this something that people would self-regulate because they wouldn't select those queues anyway if they didn't want them? Yeah, and that's the other option, MC, is do you say, okay, forget ranked entirely, do you introduce these in the casual rotation similar to minigames, and just say instead of selecting minigames, you select duel? Or instead of that, yeah, you could do the same thing there. That wouldn't be too hard to implement. It would be another extra checkbox on the profile because you've already got this whole thing. So you'd say while you wait, minigame spectate duel, and that would just be down there. And then you would get pulled out of that duel when a game is ready. I don't think people would have a problem with that. You would lose, I think, part of what they're requesting here, which is the ranked component of the OFM and duel, because they want it to be like of people of similar strength. Like you might just get two random people. It might be somebody who I am way better than or way worse than, but is that really a problem? I don't think so. Yeah, you would lose the leaderboard and all that. Yeah, I think this specific duel and OFM I think works better as a casual thing than it does as a third game mode in ranked. I think that the racing and the egg ball and maybe some specific mini games might work for that, but these two game modes I don't think work too well as another ranked option. Yeah, but if it's casual, the ranking wouldn't happen until the pre-game countdown, and then it would only happen if there's more than a 75% chance, and that's not going to happen if there are just two people, so it would never trigger. So it would just be whatever two players get pulled into a game get pulled in. This is tricky. This is tricky. I think I'm going to mark this as just under review for now, because there's more that I want to think about with this. This has kind of killed all of the time we were going to use for feature building this week, so this might be the thing we work on next week for our feature building, is kind of figuring out how do we potentially introduce other queues at all. So I'll file that away for next week, but for now, let's just say requires more consideration for balancing against the traditional current queues. Idea is not opposed. Opposed. Set times certain days of the week. Yeah, there's definitely something in there's there is a solution here. I think we need to spend a good like half hour and just kind of work through all the specifics of it. So I think that's what I'm going to pencil in for next week. Let me actually write it down right now with an actual pencil. Actually, I have a pen. Good enough. Let's say alternate queue options flow timing. And we will figure that out next week. But we only have about 13 more minutes here, 14 maybe, and we still have to get through all the Discord feedback stuff. So we're gonna keep working. Yeah, hydrate, says Yalpa. Thank you very much. I will. You should too. All right. I need that. Allergies have been giving me a little bit of a cough, which I didn't appreciate. I think that's everything for the canny board. Let's head over to Discord now, where we received another 5 requests, and we'll try to get through these in the 15 minutes that we have together. So let's put Discord up in front of me. If I am trying to show you something and you can only see Discord, please speak up. Why does it look weird? It's like missing half of the... Can I zoom in on this? Sorry, still trying to figure this out. That looks better, right? Yeah, okay, let's go with that. My face is going to be blocking a bunch of this, though. What if I do this? Wait, put me over here. No! Alright, you go over there. And you stay there. Okay, now we can see everything. Everyone's happy. So, show finish all games on Joiner. Let's also zoom in a little bit. Beautiful. Look at that. It would be convenient to configure the finish all game options while on the Joiner page. So the finish all games option is the profile setting down here. And as it says in the tooltip, oh, I can't, oh gosh, I did it already. Finish all games is down here on your profile. And if you hover over it, it'll explain what it does. It says prevents searching for higher priority games while playing. If enabled, frequency of ranked games will decrease while playing casual, which just means that if you're playing casual, you will never get pulled out of your casual game to get put into a ranked game. So the request here on Discord is it would be convenient to configure that while on the Joiner page. And I'm not sure that I understand the use case here. Because if you are opposed to getting pulled out of your casual games, I don't feel like that's something that changes. Like, if that's a stance you have, that's fine. But do you change your opinion on whether or not you want to get pulled out while you're waiting for a game to happen? Because if you do, which is okay, you also have the option to remove yourself from the queue while you're in a casual game. You've got that little green thing in the top left corner of your screen. If you click on that while you're in a casual game, it takes you out of the Joiner, so you're not going to be considered for additional games while you're in that game. If you want to go back to the Joiner at the end of that game, you would have to click it again versus going back to the home page. But I don't know. Am I missing an obvious use case here, guys? I don't see why this is necessary. You don't get it? All right, I'm going to mark this as closed for now. Well, I'll mark it under review and give them a chance to respond. Not quite understanding the use case here. Would you mind elaborating on why this is useful for you? Or why this would be useful? And let's update this to under review. All right, highlight when a map is in trial rotation. Add an announcement in chat at the end of the game or a message denoting trial rotation on the scoreboard. Might be even better at the beginning of games so people understand they're playing a new map and they might actually think a little bit as they play. Interesting note from Moosin. I think that there is room for this. So right now, if you're in a throwback map, there is a message before the game starts that says throwback map, so you know it's a throwback map. I think we could do the same thing for trial maps and say trial map. I don't see that being an issue necessarily. So let's make a ticket for that real quick. Add pregame message for trial maps at the start of casual games when a throwback map is selected. There is a chat message which says throwback map. Copy this same format, but for trial maps, and with the message trial map. Don't forget to vote after the game. Nice and simple. That is a low effort, and I'm going to mark that as I think medium or high priority. I'm going to go medium priority on that one, because that would be useful for the MTC to get some more feedback. The more we can do to encourage voting, the better. And that does have a tangible impact because it helps them curate the rotation to what people actually want to see. So let us link the Discord thread. Discord feedback link is here. And let's create that. Status updated to planned. Ticket for a pregame message to notify users that they are on a trial map and to encourage voting has been submitted. I can't type today. It's not yet been assigned. Will be included when time allows. Boom. All right, let's update that to planned warm up while searching for ranked games. This is ringing a bell for me. I feel like we had a similar request. Maybe we didn't actually respond to it on the candy board. Was it? Yeah, okay, we got a request for this a while back. Let me show you guys what I'm looking at here. So we got a warm-up game request. Make an option that when players in their first game, they can have a warm-up game. This will make it so they can use their keys before playing, before it affects their win rates. This was a request before rank was even a thing. This was a casual request where they wanted to have a warm-up casual game, and then their games after that would actually count towards stats. I think we decided it was not that important to do at the time. So what Meows is requesting here, just to contrast the two, is I'd like to be able to warm up or practice in a private group. So this is different. Private group while searching for ranked games. Other games I play have something like this, like Free Play and Rocket League, same functionality. So it would just be, this is similar to what MC was mentioning with the OFM as like another while you wait thing. So I think it would be, yeah, it would be another option down here where you would say while you wait, minigame, spectate, and then private game or like a warm-up something. I don't see that being a problem. It would require a bunch of changes on the back end, so unfortunately not easy to implement, but from an actual like makes sense standpoint, I don't have a problem with this request. So let's make a quick ticket for that one. allow private lobby, private games while waiting for public matches. In the while you wait section of the joiner selection, the joiner selections allow users to select a what would you call that? Private game or warm-up game? Warm-up lobby? Let's just go warm-up lobby for now. This is always unchecked by default. I'll explain why in a second. But when clicked, immediately redirects the user into a private game on a specific map, probably. Like we'd have to bring them to a... Does Rocket League have different maps for this? I think that's my one holdup is what do they actually boost around on? I think I would want it to be a specific map, or maybe they have their own that they've picked ahead of time. That gets a little tricky. Maybe it would be a drop down of the current rotation and you click the map that you want to warm up on, but it's like collapsed until you hover over it. Is Rocket League just one arena and they don't have to have this problem because they only have one map? That wouldn't surprise me. I think that my current preference is similar to the map dropdown that we have here. You would have random CTF, random NF, and then a list of all the maps in rotation. It's a long list is the problem. I'm not sure people would actually care enough to scroll through that and click on something. Shoot, I'm not sure. And we're almost out of time. Let's just say in the while you wait section, warm up lobby. Yeah, I think the drop down makes the most sense though, just from a letting people pick what they want thing. So it's not a checkbox. This is not a checkbox, but when users hover over it, a drop down appears with the list of current rotation maps, not trial. Users can click on any map name and be redirected into a private game on that map while remaining connected to the joiner. Also allow for random CTF NF as seen in private group map options. Does that work for you guys? I feel like that covers the use case at least. I think the worst part of this is the number of map options, but if you don't care, you're just gonna click the first option, which is random, which is fine. And if you do care, then you're going to be willing to scroll through it because you care about the map. So I think that that's okay. As long as we can make it not like mess with the page as it does that. But I think that works fine. So that's going to be a high effort, unfortunately, low priority, which means probably not something we would get to in the immediate future, but I don't see a reason for us not to do this at some point in the future. So we'll make a ticket for it. So that's going to be a planned, and let me just copy this ticket for a warm-up game on maps selected by the user or a random map has been submitted internally. specific map. What the heck is this? Specific. I should go to the dentist? Oh, 2:30. Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Short and ranked voting period. All right, we already answered this one. So let's copy that. Where'd that go? Here it is. Okay, status updated to closed. Closed. I forgot to say status updated to planned on the other one. Do I always take this long to do this, or are there just more things than usual? I feel like I'm way behind schedule. Map type filter in replays. You know what? I think that's fine, but it's not something we're going to do in the next week, so I will get to it at our next stream because we are over 90 minutes and I am tired, so I'm going to call it there. And sorry, I was showing you guys the wrong thing while I was doing those last few updates there, but we got all that updated. So that is all I have for you this week. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Appreciate the feedback on this one. It was good to have some guys bouncing some ideas off of this as we went. So I'll be back next Friday as usual. We'll pick up where we left off, hopefully get to an actual feature building session next time. But anything you have for questions in the meantime, feel free to fill out that form that you can find in the chat or in the description and all of that. And again, we're looking at a release somewhere in the 3 to 4 week from now range for the shop and a lot of other things that you can check at the start of this stream when I post it to Reddit in the next couple of hours. So thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you have a lovely rest of your Friday, a nice weekend, and I will see you all later.